is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Hope you guys had an incredible weekend. We are back at it again, one full solid week. And what does the market want to do? Of course, gap down. We're just bear trending, so we're gonna gap down a little bit. It's okay. We'll get to the markets, but I see you guys are piling into the room. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you, Andy. Good morning, Bill. We got Greg K. Good morning. Jason PK in the house. Good morning to you, Jay, Joe, JT, Kevin Stone. We got Liza, Martina, Stephen Wong, Wally. Good morning to all you guys, everybody out there in YouTube land. Richard Jet, Rado, Ivo is in the house. Good morning to all the lurkers just sitting in the background of YouTube, just hanging out, chilling. That's okay. Just hit the like and subscribe button. It's all good. Stephen Wong, what's going on, buddy? All right, so we got a little bit of a pretty important gap down, I would say. 3 days in a row of just straight plummeting. This is definitely an important gap down. We are breaking a previous pivot. We are breaking all previous VPOCs where we got saved a little bit. That being said, I think everything's still honestly according to plan. I don't think anything is really too crazy. We were looking at this going, we were thinking this is probably some type of wave 4 at this point. And this is currently sitting in wave 5, I think. I still do have a magic number, 11831. So we'll see if that one wants to hold. Otherwise, yeah, pretty important gap down. I mean, if anybody was bullish whatsoever, I think you're getting absolutely, trapped. You're losing money on your trades. Is this really a gap down that I think the entire market's going to really, really worry about? I don't think so. We're right at that 50% retracement, so that's going to be important. That's the Fibonacci from kind of where this all started to the high point. This is going back to March 13th. March 13th of this year, all the way up to July 27th. Again, we are sitting about a 50% retracement, so not horrible. This is a retest gap. I think that's what the direction that we probably go to today. So hopefully we get some quick initial sell candles. Let's flip this down to a smaller time frame. Actually, let's go to a 3-minute time frame, just so we can see how kind of this is moving pre-market. We did hit the magic number twice. I don't know if I believe this one. That looks like just a wick down. That would be an absolutely incredible hammer if that's true. Again, I'm not going to put that much weight on that wick, but we did bounce off of that magic number. This looks like pre-market today. We got some kind of rise. Watch for double bottoms today. So all of this right now is kind of just retesting where we closed yesterday. So I would like to see, I don't know, again, if that wick is real, that would be actually pretty incredible. I don't know if I trust it, but I think if we get a little bit of a pullback first, create some kind of a double bottom somewhere around the magic number, and then move from there. I want to see if I get my where's that pen thing? There we go. Except that got me off the screen. All right, now we're back. But yeah, what I would be looking for, and again, it's, I don't know, wave count wise on this move up, but hitting some kind of sell coming in, maybe double bottom, and then see if this number can get saved. But so far, so good. And it's been holding, so we'll see if that wants to hold. But I think a little bit of a pullback. I'm sure we're going to freak some bulls out here, but it is a retest gap. Let's take a look real quick at Qs. Classified says resistance for support. In terms of levels that we could go to, that's a good question. We didn't really cover that. Let's flip it back to the daily. In terms of support resistance, I have to look at that 418.31 as my support. So we have a little bit of a ways down into that. We've already bounced off that pre-market. That's the number for me that I'm looking for. If that breaks and we get a close below that today, I think we're in for a much deeper sell-off, but then we're maybe today for 1774, some kind of support. Otherwise, that 418.31 zone is really where I'm looking for support. And then we do have resistance on the way up. That's going to be 420.144. If we could break through that, the next stop for us is 422.36. I mean, we don't have any real news. We don't have any catalyst. We do have, I think, 460 or 640 companies, I think, reporting this week on earnings. Nothing really today. So I don't really see any real catalyst as to why we should run absolutely bullish or absolutely bearish today. But we are going to there's going to be some bulls with some tears today at open. But again, just be patient. I think it's a retest gap, and we did bounce off of that pre-market. But those would be the levels that I'm looking at. Qs. So same thing, a little bit of a gap down. We're still hanging into a bottom level. So SPY looks a little bit more intimidating than the Qs, but this is still not a great gap for Qs. This is a retest. For this one, I would put a strong resistance at 354.27. That's going to be a tough one to break through northbound. Otherwise, to the downside, the next stop we're probably looking at is 352.89. And that's still within this hammer. We've already retested that one. So I do think to the downside, we have the capability of breaking that at some point. The next one down, we've already retested this one too. That's 351.54. And that would put the next real support down to 349.57. Do we break any of this today? I don't know, but we can definitely break the next few levels. We've already retested that. That should be a little bit weaker. I do think this gap has to fill first. And then we if we're going to roll over, we look to push. TLT, we've been watching that one for a while. Again, really difficult to buy anything in the stock market in terms of equity or any shares, any assets within the stock market. If TLT is not going to rally today, we do have another gap and go. Not really breaking down Friday's candle as of yet, but that is a gap and go. Sentiment should be bearish. I'm looking at probably resistance coming in at 82.94. If we break that one, and that's a big if, but if we could break that one, that's 83.17, and there's really no stopping, no support levels below us, and things could still get a little bit more ugly. If you guys have any stocks, tickers, let me know. Otherwise, we'll run through a couple. CVX, I think, purchased Hess for all stock deal that was over the weekend, and they are gapping down on nothing. It doesn't matter how strong the oil market is. That is a big acquisition for Chevron, and market is not loving it. Again, this one though, I will actually throw this one a little bit higher on the list. This one's at an interesting support. So let's pop this one up a little bit higher. We do have a little bit of support down here. So I'll be looking at 162.94. We do have the 200 sitting right below us. That's 162.42. And then a couple other big levels, 161.72. This is also a retest gap. This might be one to look for a fade. Let me see if ExxonMobil is playing off of this news at all. So that's a gap down as well at support too. I would probably look at ExxonMobil for a retest as well, but Chevron I think gives us a little bit more room to run. Yep, I think Chevron's going to be your better play. Both of them I would expect to retest. Both of them are good retest gaps. Nvidia. Classified says, do you foresee big tech earnings triggering a sell-off if they are bad? Yes. Yes, I do. Those earnings, they have to be good. And the other thing we'll look at is some regional banks too, because the regional banks are just getting clobbered. Bitcoin is actually showing a little bit of strength, and I think that's fear from a lot of the regionals, and banks I think have a bigger struggle as well. But the only thing really that was holding up the market, the thing that ran us into not quite all-time highs, but a good portion of the bounce for this year was big tech. The companies like Nvidia, the companies like Apple, we're looking at two things on those earnings. One, how did they do this quarter? And then at the same time, we don't really care how they did it this quarter because we know it's going to be a struggle bus. We know it's going to be rough, but their forecast for what they're pushing out, how they see future growth going, future sales going, future financials, that's going to be absolutely huge. And if that goes, Yeah, I think we see a much deeper sell off, but we'll see how those earnings and forecasts come in. Nvidia is gapping down slightly, nothing too crazy. Again, technically, I think Qs have a little bit more room to run down today, but at least at open, they're still holding up stronger than everything else at this point. We do have Nvidia earnings coming out. That is the 21st. I think that's right before Thanksgiving. Is it the week of Thanksgiving? November 21st. So we still got some time for Nvidia to come out with some earnings. We have an absolutely glaring head and shoulders on Nvidia. We are just at that neckline right now. Probably would look for a little chop city. This is definitely going to be a spot bulls want to save it, but again, that is a very, very picture perfect head and shoulders on Nvidia with a lot of room to the downside. Even if we're talking of gap fill, we're probably talking about 310 at this point. We got this pivot to save us. We got support somewhere around 390. So it's not all just jump off a cliff yet. And then we did see Netflix earnings too. So Netflix came out with a surprise. They had really, really good earnings. They didn't get crushed. They had a good sell into it. So again, I don't know how the earnings are going to play out, but yeah, if we lose some of the big ones, it's going to get rough. TSEM. I believe this is the Israeli company. Okay. Something a little different than the market. We do have to watch out for some moving averages coming in on us. Still got some room there. 23.53. That would also set up a really good resistance on this one. But good hammer. Nice little double bottom. Technically, these two candles are inside. I think we fade. We are at a little bit of it is a really, really good gap. It's a really good gap, but I think we're at a little bit of resistance with some moving averages coming in. Next spot, as much as I would like to get up to this $23.60 mark, I think the max today we probably stay at 23.24. And I think this is going to be treated more as a retest gap. We're not quite breaking this candle yet. We'll have to see where this thing actually opens in the next, I don't know. What do we got? 17 minutes left. Decent buy opportunity. I mean, if you're looking for a beat up company, you're definitely going to be searching for this one. Yeah, nothing really. We're catching a falling knife, but it is a good gap. I'd be concerned today about targets on this one. What I would like to see and what I think happens is we could pull back. If we could get down to 22.47, that's going to give us probably a little bit of a better buy opportunity. And then obviously stops on a swing trade basis would be 21.42. Otherwise, if I was to buy this thing out of the gate, 23.20 would be the next stop and probably where this thing, I don't think we break that today. So we got about 40 cents to the upside, but if we could get a little pullback and we're able to buy it a little bit lower, that would give us about $1 to the higher side. Otherwise, interesting gap. Volume and spread, watch out for that one on this one. For day trade basis, we might run into a little bit of a non-liquidity event. HA, we had earnings for Bank of Hawaii. I know this is the airlines, but Bank of Hawaii's earnings were relatively decent, and I think that sells off too. Let's look at KRE. KRE looks like it's a little bit in free fall. So this is where you're going to get a lot of the regionals in this ETF. A little bit of a gap down, nothing too crazy, about 14 cents to the downside so far, but that was a horrific looking close on Friday for banks with huge volume. We're also in a TTM squeeze and also a perfect bearish TTM squeeze. So we got volume starting to, or momentum starting to shift to the bearish side. We got all the moving averages above us. And if this is an indicator that banks are going to suffer, you don't want to see it on the bearish move TTM squeeze because things can get ugly quick on this one. But that is a perfect bearish squeeze. So I would look for a little bit more pressure there, at least first stop. And I think all these levels are breakable, and we probably see new lows past this pivot of probably 34.62. But immediate support on this one comes in 36.54. And I think we get more continued momentum to the downside on KRE. That was not a great close from them. Take a look at Tesla, just because we look at that one every day. Classified says anything with Palantir. We'll check that one out as well. Let's take these off. Another technically a retest gap, a few days of selling in a row, probably bullish out of the gate. Otherwise, nothing really holding up Tesla in terms of volume, really until about 198. So we'd have to break that $200 level before maybe it could get a little interesting. But again, not a great close on Friday. We didn't even hold that. We didn't even hold that last little pivot on the close of Friday, and today we're getting gap down. So I think pressures to the bearish side. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of bullishness out of the gate. Just some of those shorts maybe taking profits on this gap down. We're at the 618. 618, I got 209.34. Let's see if we hit that pre-market. 209. Yeah, so we hit the 618. We did get a bounce there. Again, do I trust that volume? No, not really. That's at 8 a.m. today. Yeah, I don't really trust any of that volume. Nothing too crazy. Otherwise, we're just sitting pretty much flat, bouncing off that 618. That's probably the only beneficial thing for Tesla at this point, is maybe we could hold that. Otherwise, I don't really see a lot of volume that should hold us up on Tesla. Was this the retest though? 240. That would have been the retest, if I believe these candles. Retest, instant rejection, even a little bit of a bull trap on the breakout. Yeah, that might have been the retest. If that was, I don't even know if we see a bullish bounce on Tesla. But I'd be perfectly happy trying a 10 EMA today bearish, if we could get a good setup. Do I want to take any pre-market breakdown on Tesla? That's the 200 on a 3-minute coming in. I think that the next immediate target would take us right down to this 209. I'll call it 209.02, but 209.40 is where the 618 is. Yeah, I don't think it's time to buy any of these things yet. Nothing really crazy. Coinbase, we do have Bitcoin that was moving. Bitcoin looks decent again. I think that's really just related to two things. One, they're trying to push through an ETF for crypto, and I think they're making some decent progress on that front. But I would also say Bitcoin is most likely also moving because KRE has been losing a little bit of trust. So anything regional wise, I think there's still a lot of issues banking, especially with some of the smaller names. But I think we're starting to see some of the bigger guys go too. And yeah, that makes crypto look a little bit more attractive. Coinbase is getting a little gap up. Still lots and lots of resistance ahead of us. If we really go bullish today, I really don't see us breaking 77.65. We're just kind of channeling in that range. PayPal gap down again. That's, I would imagine, a little retest, but to the upside, I think is going to be very, very challenging, at least until earnings. We're going to need some of these earnings to come out if we're going to flip any of this sentiment in the market. Either that, I think the next biggest day we have to watch for, I believe it is November 14th. That's the next CPI report. The last CPI came in a little bit hot, showing that there is some inflation coming in. So we could actually be downtrending till November 14th. And if that comes in hot, I think that's where the market wants to start to tank. If it comes in light, then okay, we had one bad CPI earnings, but we're shaking off inflation, and I think the market will be a buy at that point. So I think that is going to be a huge one. Marie wants to take a look at square, aka block, aka drop. Yep. Same type sentiment. We do have a little bit of support at open. We've got one level of safety below us, 43.32. Maybe that could hang into that zone. Otherwise, I'm looking at resistance up to 44.16. So watch that spot. That's going to be your short spot if you want to get in. Technically, this is a retest gap, but we are also gapping below below Friday's wick. So again, nothing really saying this thing is going to bounce. We could draw a fib on this one. We're looking for some hope in a bullish direction. That would be somewhere about there to very close to that. That means that this is our 618 retracement. So if we're going to get a double bottom, this should be 43.35, should be a decent level to hold. That takes us right back to the 618. That would be our double bottom, higher new lows, and we could bounce out of there, hopefully. Otherwise, again, I think I think we have a little bit of struggle bus. Their earnings are coming out soon. All right, so we got November 2nd for them. We got about a week and a half? I don't know. WBA, they're still a stock. Yeah, still a stock and getting a little gap up. This one would be a retest to the downside, and I think this one's a fade. So all of the sentiment right now, I keep losing that pen. There it is. This is gonna be a tough candle right here to break. Once we break that, we got some hope. Otherwise, anything that is gapping up within this candle, especially following a green candle here, I'm not saying this is not a bad double bottom. That's a very, very good double bottom. Should be a key support. I don't trust any of their dividends at this point. I think the dividends do get cut. But that is a gap up. If you want to play this double bottom, it would be more of a swing trade, but I think we got to get back down into this level, which is just under 2150. Your stop would go here, and then you just close your eyes, buckle up, and start to pray a lot, because this thing could come down, it could break it, but for right now, we have at least a little bit of hope that we get a double bottom. At open today, yeah, no, probably wouldn't want to go long this thing. At least wait for that pullback, the fade, and then see if maybe then it is viable and that double bottom could hold. Target, TGT. TGT. Technically gap and go bearish. We do have a little bit of room on this one. Our first little support is 108.02. That one we've already hit. I think that could break down. I would probably be looking at targets for 105.73. That could be a fun bearish play. We have a little bit of room on this, about $3. Everything depends. Can we break down this 108.02? Do you have some pressure in the market? We're gonna get a bounce somewhere in this market before we really take the next dip. But yeah, target looks good for the bearish side. I like it. 105.73 would have to be targets. I would love to get out of this thing a little sooner, so like 106.42. So if I can make that trade work, that would be decent. Yeah, I like that one to the downside. And then again, it all depends on, I think, the overall market. Are we going to get a bounce first? If we do, then shorting it somewhere close to 109.34 would make sense. Marie says, in target, I'm stuck at 133. 100 shares. Should I hold or buy calls? I wouldn't buy calls yet. I wouldn't be buying calls on anything, not just target. What you could do, Marie, what I would rather do, because Target's not going to zero. I think they could definitely stay down in this range for a little bit longer. I don't really. I mean, we just had earnings on them not too long ago, so the next one comes in November 15th. So we just got a little bit of time on that. I think that would be the hope for bouncing. What I would do for me is look to sell calls and just generate some revenue, whatever, how much that might be. So if you got 133, okay, maybe you're looking to sell calls anywhere above 121. So do a covered call, generate some income, some cash flow from holding that position. It is too low for me to really want to buy puts, but it doesn't mean it has to skyrocket back. I mean, we could definitely see $95 again. That would be a good retest spot. But yeah, I wouldn't want to almost double down on the position with buying calls, especially when we're not in a bear market, technically speaking, but yeah, I would say we're definitely in a bear trend in a worst case, which is not usually the best time to buy calls. Yeah, I would be selling those calls. All right. Is the market looking to come to a bottom or more selling? I think November 14th. I think November 14th is our potential turn spot. Let's take a look at AMD. Do we have for my moon people? Are we in full moon, the new moon cycle yet, or we have another week or so? AMD a little bit of a gap down. We should have the weight of the 200, which is sitting somewhere close to $178. That should give us some kind of support. This is probably more of a well, especially now 101. We just dropped a little bit. I think AMD is going to be looking very, very interesting here if we could hold that 200. This might be one to look to sell some puts on. At this point, you could probably get a decent premium anywhere below $95, but be careful. We do have earnings coming out the last day of the month. That's Halloween. I mean, you can't pick a scarier day to have earnings for AMD. Amazon. Does not look strong again. I think the best move is probably sit on hands for the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of the day if we can. That's a challenge for me. That's a challenge for me. But I think all of this thing is the retest. I think we could make some quick bullish money out of the gate potentially on just some of these retests. But I think we'll make a lot more to the downside. Just sticking with that trend. Delta. Another little gap down. I've got magic number on this one at 31.98. We're at 32.10 pre-market. So very, very close to a huge spot that should want to hold. Otherwise, if we can't hold that, the next stop down is probably about $29.76. So we could have a little bit more room there. Eli Lilly. Let me just run through these. So what I got. I only got 15 seconds left. That's crazy. That's crazy. 10 seconds until the bell. Everybody out there in YouTube land, I do appreciate you joining us each and every morning. We got Ballones in the house. I believe Ballones coming on tomorrow. If not her, it will be me. I'll just have to double check. But you guys are incredible. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. But that is the opening bell. I will catch all of you.